Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Talk Scottish Football Podcast. Jeez, oh David, it feels like a long time since I've uttered those words.
I know, it's a very long time. What even was the date?
Oh, I don't know. It was sometime in early March anyway. It's got to have been. Early March was the last time we did one of these podcasts. We sat here and we spoke absolute nonsense for an hour. And now we're back.
When the world was a rosy place back then, you know?
It was. And now we do apologise for the circumstances that we find ourselves in. We're not in our usual radio booth. We've not got our top-notch, state-of-the-art microphones. We are separated by a few hundred miles and going over a messenger call. But we're trying our best to bring what we can to you. Considering there is actually a kind of topic for a podcast today. Well, it's quite a major topic to say the least.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'd said since this whole thing kicked off, we didn't want to really do a podcast and just like speculate and talk a load of nonsense like everyone else had done. But, you know, yesterday obviously was a bit of news. Firstly, though, we had some news ourselves, 500 subs for the channel, which was...
I have to bring that up. 500 subscribers, absolutely stupendous. Thank you very much to everybody who has clicked the subscribe button, especially those who have joined us over the past 3-4 weeks where we've not been rolling out the content to the same extent we were when we had the facilities and such. It has been a difficult time, so if you have been watching along, catching up, watching the Football Manager save and stuff, or the draft saves, thank you. That's the least that I think we can say between the two of us there.
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday, the news came out yesterday, the SPFL have come up with a solution. And basically the outline of this is that Leagues 2, League 1 and the Championship will finish and the positions will be based on a points per game system. So that would see Cove Rangers promoted, Stranraer relegated, Wraith Rovers promoted, Partick Thistle relegated and Dundee United promoted. However, the Premiership will still...
And I've just got to confirm there that David's voice has cut out, so I'll finish his sentence for him until he does return back.
Broke loose.
There. You cut out a wee bit, but what you were touching on there, what it means for the Scottish Premiership. Finish your sentence off, David.
The Scottish Premiership would be postponed until a later date, basically.
So it's a bit mad.
Yeah, it is a bit mad because the idea that... Well, firstly, the idea that where they're going to find the time to finish the games is what I'm still struggling to get my head around.
I'm sure both of us share our own opinions, and we'll get on to that. I guess we're going to speak about the technicalities of everything first and the kind of, official side of things rather than put our opinions out first. I imagine we'll come to that last. This situation obviously sees, teams like Partick Thistle going down with a game in hand. There's a lot of people who have already came out, a lot of clubs who have voiced their concern against this solution, people who are not for it. And I guess we're now in a situation where, yes, it will go to a voting system, we'll see what happens, but it's just it's such a bombshell that I don't think I don't know what there was to expect, but this certainly yesterday is not what I expected to see. I don't know about you, David, but it's not what I expected to see. I thought there would be a consistency all around the country in the top 4 divisions and not just singling out the 3 lower league teams in there and leaving the Premiership as a kind of special treatment.
Well, to be fair, it's hardly something new, is it? I mean, the SFA and the SPFL are not going to hide the fact that the Premiership is 100%
of course,
a priority.
Right, that's a given. But I thought in these circumstances, whatever happened in the top flight would be consistent throughout the other 3 tiers. I thought there would be a sort of rolling thing that they would get going between all those divisions. But no, so I know there's a lot more money. There's a lot more, the Glasgow clubs that obviously have this sort of... There's no shying away from it, even as a Celtic fan. They are the 2 teams in Scotland that will always be prioritised. They will always... they'll do anything to avoid controversy between those 2 clubs. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts just now, David.
Well, I mean... So, as you said, the SPFL, they want to avoid controversy between the old firm. Now, if you make a flat-out decision just now, you're going to upset one of the 2. So if you go null and void, you're going to have Celtic raging. If you go dish out the titles, Rangers will be fuming. So at the moment, if you make a decision right now on the Premiership, you're going to upset one of them. However, if you keep open the option of continuing the season when possible, you're going to have a fair resolution. The issue is, I mean, they could postpone the Premiership for as long as they wanted theoretically. However, next year we've got the new TV deal coming in with Sky, and in that TV deal, part of it is that the league fixtures start early August. That's in the deal. So that makes an absolute mess of it, because there's no way. I mean, even in like a sort of optimistic scenario, say in a month's time we go back to playing football, you're still going to have to get the players back up to speed and stuff. That's going to take a couple of weeks. Then you've got to get all the games in, and then give them a break before the next season starts.
The English Championship have already came out and said they need 56 whole days to complete the season. That's not counting getting players back up to speed. That's not setting up fixtures and dates and stuff. That is 56 days of pure football to get the whole season finished. Obviously, that's a different league. There's more teams. It's a different country altogether, different footballing authority. But you're looking at a similar scenario up here in terms of we'll need that amount of days probably to allow time for fitness. You can't just play 3 games in a week. Just like that.
Of course.
So
and also you've got to also. I mean, this solution the SPFL come forward with is getting voted on Friday, and I think they need 9 of the top flight clubs to agree to it, and then I think it's like 8 of the 10
clubs in the Scottish Championship need to vote for it. But
so I think the issue is
already said they're not voting for it, so that means that the board will need 8 votes from the other 9 clubs.
Yeah, the issue the SPFL are going to have is from the Championship, because I think in the top flight, the only teams that I think are going to disagree with that are Rangers, Hearts, and maybe Aberdeen. I don't think anybody else would kick up a fuss about this. Mm-hmm. Aberdeen, I'm not entirely sure they would do. In the Championship, that's where I think the SPFL will have real difficulties, because obviously Partick Thistle will be against it.
And you're looking at a battleground between all the teams who could potentially finish in a playoff position.
That's the thing. So you've got like Dundee and Inverness and Ayr, who will all still have chances of going up. Ayr, interestingly, Ayer's chairman came out yesterday and pretty much said that they would be agreeing with this, because I think this is where money talks in Scottish football. The prize money thing is a big thing. Like, the end of the season now, the prize money gets divvied out. A lot of these Championship clubs especially need that money to keep ticking over. So, that's where money kind of talks in this sort of situation.
What you briefly spoke on the situation with Sky and the new deal starting. They want the games to go ahead in early August, and that's when the new deal will kick in. I don't know what is a likely and what is an unlikely scenario at this point, so I don't want to come out and say the unlikely scenario or the likely scenario. There's no telling what's going to happen here. I guess we'll have more of an idea after these votes take place on Friday. Do you think there should be some form of leniency between the clubs, between Sky, if the situation arises that the season will start back, but it won't be until a time that won't allow that to happen? Do you think Sky should have a place where they should turn around and say, okay, right, we can't help this global pandemic that no one could imagine, will allow the deal, will allow the games to be televised or start being televised at a later date? Say the season somehow had to finish in October. That's just a random month I've thrown out there, but say it was. Do you think Sky should have a leniency and say, okay, we'll start a TV deal in November, December, when the new season...
Well, I mean, it's already signed and agreed, but then you've also got the situation is, so then would you still allow BT to broadcast Scottish football until... Season. Yeah, so that's... I mean, this TV deal was, 120 million or something ridiculous like that? I mean, it's not like it's small money we're talking here. This is massive, so I don't see Sky just, ripping up the deal and saying, right, we'll start it later on. I think... the issue is, it does come down to money, and a lot of this stuff is, every single team in this vote is going to look out for their own interests. I mean, that's just an absolute given. There's going to be ultimately, as much as we think, boards and certain clubs might be, respectable and sensible and stuff, they're all going to put their own interests first. I mean, you saw it yesterday when this announcement came out, there was just statements galore from clubs.
Now you've already got Anne Budge, who came out weeks ago, saying there would be a legal charge from them. They would try and do something if it meant that Hearts would have their season null and voided, finished and relegated, whatever. And then you've got Falkirk coming out with statements as well, teams as far down as them, and they're a team who are in a decent enough position in League One. They're looking as though they'll go up, and yet they're still, their statements flying out everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the one that caught my eye yesterday was Partick Thistle. I think they were one of the first to come out, and what they said was that they wouldn't accept this decision. Now, I'm sorry, if this vote goes through, they don't have a choice. Like, I don't understand that. We won't accept. What are they going to do? Like, walk away? I don't understand that. If the vote goes through, there's not an awful lot they can do about it, because the SPFL have gone through the sort of relevant protocols and stuff in terms of how to do this sort of thing. If this vote goes through, they're kind of knackered. I can totally understand. I mean, I think, there's been lots of talk about league reconstruction and stuff like that. The teams I sympathise for are the teams involved in relegation battles. Listen, if Celtic, Dundee United, Cove Rangers, Raith Rovers all get awarded the title, the only one you could really have any complaints with is Raith Rovers because it's such a small gap. The rest are just, they've all, the other three teams have won their league.
Let's touch on that then. So we're coming over, and this is a Celtic fan coming out now. But let's talk of the Scottish Premiership just now. You've just came out and said the true and proper thing. Look, the title's done. Celtic should be champions. The fact of the matter is, if the season is finished, if we are not allowed to finish the campaign and see it through, there will be a massive question mark over how Celtic won the 9 for a long, long time. And that'll come from not only just, Rangers fans and the Rangers club itself, who I imagine will hold this asterisk over Celtic's head, but everywhere around the country it will always be the 9 in a row with an asterisk. Now, does that change things? Do you think that the SFA, the SPFL should, there's you say those 3 teams, you said it right, those 3 teams, if they win their title, if they're given the title, then we're going to win it anyway. But do you think that the fact that there's all this controversy surrounding it, they'll look to get the season actually fit? It's just so confusing because Celtic are undoubtedly the champions. They would be the champions whether the season finishes now or when the 38 games are played. But it's that whole, Rangers fans are not... There's going to be that selection of Rangers fans who will not be happy with that decision.
Well, I don't think it's just Rangers fans. I said it to you before. For me, ideally, we should try to finish the games as much as possible. I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Ultimately, circumstances have changed. It's a lot more serious in terms of how long football's going to be off for. It doesn't sit right with me awarding any team a title until the 38 games have been played. It doesn't sit right with me at all on a sort of basic principle level. And I think a lot of Celtic fans will agree with that as well. I think you would ideally want to win it by winning it.
I would want to go to 38 games.
Of course you would.
The horror for me is that we'd go and win 10 in a row and we're never allowed to properly enjoy it because the cries from around the country is we were gifted one of the 10.
Yeah, ultimately, and the thing is, it's such a tough decision because Rangers fans will be upset because, listen, although what annoys me about this is everyone in the whole country and the whole media have said the league's over for months. Before this, in February time we all said it was over, until this kicked up, and now all of a sudden, maybe it's not over. So, but I mean, ultimately, what is it? I mean, there's 2 Old Firm games to play. Rangers have a game in hand. They win the game in hand in the 2 Old... But just hold on, let me finish. They win the game in hand in the 2 Old Firm games. They go 4 points behind, right? The thing about this is there have been stranger things in football happen than someone overturn that deficit. Like, it has happened. A lot stranger things than that have happened. So therefore... Yeah, of course. So then if you go and award it early, you're always going to have that what if, because in football, these things can happen.
Exactly what you're saying, right? These things can happen. Realistically, in the games that are remaining in the Scottish Premiership, if Rangers were to beat Celtic those 2 times and win their game in hand, as you said, it's 4 points. It's all a what if, because even at that, what are the chances in Celtic dropping those 4 points and Rangers having an immaculate?
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's just what ifs, but it's on both. I get what you're saying. It's on both sides. What if this happened? What if it didn't happen? Like, that is, we're always going to live in that mentality if the season is just said, "Oh, here's Celtic, there's your title."
Yeah, I completely agree. I do completely agree, and that's. Because, I don't think it's going to happen at all. I really don't. I've said that. We've both said that. I mean, the majority of people have said that. But, that kind of isn't the point. I'm not saying that it should be null and void. I'm not saying that at all. This is just sort of me playing devil's advocate because I think it is important that we understand where each clubs are coming from. It's not as cut and dry as just Celtic are miles ahead given the title. It's not that.
David cuts off. I will fill up the gap and pretend that he is still here and talking.
Look out for themselves.
You go back to the start of your point there because you cut off for a second.
Did I?
Thank God you were in the middle of saying something about Celtic and all that stuff.
Thank God for editing, eh? Right.
I filled the gap beautifully.
So obviously, Celtic are miles ahead. No one's going to deny that. Celtic would probably win the league if we played the league to a finish. However, it's important that you can understand the permutations of each decision you make. So, for as much as Celtic fans think, right, we're going to win the league, it's important we all understand where every club's coming from, because ultimately there is no perfect solution here. There is no right answer. For as much as awarding Celtic the title might be the fair thing to do in terms of they were going to win it, is it fair to relegate Hearts subsequently? It's just like, there's so much stuff to balance.
Well, now I want to come on to the point of the balance between two of the most important things. We've already touched on both of them, but where does the balance sway towards? What has to be looked after first? It's between fairness and it's between finance. How does this impact the whole? Obviously, we're looking at a situation which could be grim for a lot of clubs. We've already had Aberdeen come out at the start of all this and say, look, we're due to lose £5 million because of this, which could put the club's future in serious doubt. We've got Rangers who are having to, this is me going through the top teams in the country right now, not even considering the situation, because we know how dire it's going to be for the lower teams. But Rangers have had to put their staff, their players, and their coaches on a 3-month, pay cut because of the financial situation. This is a team as well who, are probably going to struggle going into next year because they can't even get a kit maker just now. So that's
I think the thing with Rangers, it was a deferral, wasn't it? So the idea is that they will pay the wages in full when they can.
Aye, but you look at the situation just now and how long this goes. So you've got Aberdeen saying that, you've got Rangers saying that, you've got other teams in the Premiership who are talking about the gate money and how they need it to survive. So what has to come first? Is it the fairness? Is it the finance? Because obviously, if you're a supporter of Cove Rangers, if you're a supporter of Raith Rovers, you're a supporter of Dundee United, you're a supporter of Celtic, you're looking at right now and going, well, I want it to be fair and I want us to get our title somehow, if that is finishing the season or no. But at the same time, all teams, everybody from Celtic down to Brecon, will need the financial support to last however long this will go through. Now, yes, as a Celtic fan, I understand we are in a completely different financial predicament. We are probably the only team in the whole country who are guaranteed safety from all of this. But where do you stand in the whole fairness finance situation?
Well, I mean, so let's take a club like Ayr United, I think, are a good example. So they're in the playoffs in the Championship. They've got a chance of going up to the Premiership this season. Now, they've worked so hard to get there, they might go up to the playoffs, who knows? Now, if you said to an Ayr United fan, would you rather have the fairness and sporting integrity that allows you that attempt to go up, or would you rather have a club to support next season? It's a no-brainer. So, I actually thought, I want to come on to the Rangers statement, because I thought
that was where I was going to go next.
Well, I think we might have differing opinions, because I actually thought, this lockdown's making everyone mad. I just saw a reasonable statement from Rangers. So I think a lot of what they said.
I think a lot of what they said. From Rangers, you say?
Yeah, I know. I thought a lot of what they said was perfectly reasonable, and I know a lot of it is. I saw a lot of Celtic fans going, basically Rangers saying they don't want the league's finished, but they want the prize money, blah blah blah. I think the SPFL have to divvy out prize money just now, and I think what they should do is divvy out to each club the absolute minimum they could get. So and then top it up as and when, if we ever get the season finished, because the clubs need money. It's cash flow is the main thing. All this money not coming in. Obviously, there was a part of the Rangers statement that was very much like, it would be, I can't remember the words they used. There was some cracking words in there about how it would be a disgrace, basically, if they finish the league now. And I didn't think that was as much great, but I do think it is sensible that we dish out some money now, because clubs need it, and we need to live in the reality of the situation, which is, if we don't support the clubs, some of them are going to really, really, really struggle.
The SPFL should be in the situation right now where that money is ready and available to give to the teams. We are close to the point in the season where it would be dished out anyway. Where, what are we? We're on the 9th of April just now. The season would normally fit. Well, this season, when the Scottish Cup final was due to be on, early May? To make up for the Euros being at Hampden. So we're a month early, right? If you're telling me the SPFL don't have the money readily available just now to give to these clubs, then that would be absolute nonsense. I wouldn't believe that. And even they can't be a far cry off it. The money must be there and must be ready to go down. So for me, yes, I do agree that what Rangers said in the statement at that part of the about the money being dished out, I do agree with. I think, look, even if the season does go on to get finished, give the clubs the money just now to ensure they are in a positive financial situation. And then, you know what, at the end of the season, when it is done and dusted, they don't need to. It's not as if they're getting asked to dish it again. They're going to give out 2 sets of prize winnings. So, get it done and out of the way. Make sure these clubs are in a healthy situation, because as a Celtic fan, I have no doubt that the finances are fine, right? But for everyone else around the Scottish footballing pyramid, there will be a cloud, a pound sign shaped cloud above every team.
Just to touch on the other part of the Rangers statement, there's not a doubt in my mind that if you were a Celtic fan and you were in this position Rangers were in, you would be raging at the thought of Rangers being given the league title. So that's why I'm not paying an awful lot of attention to this, because it's just whataboutery at this point. Because if ultimately, if it was roles reversed, every Celtic fan would be disgusted at the thought of Rangers getting handed a league title, and that's just that's the simple plain fact of it. And I don't care what anyone says. That is exactly what would be happening.
As my good friend Andy Bernard once said, I think it was it wasn't Andy Bernard. I think it was Michael Scott. Can't remember now. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have fun at Christmas.
That's a cracker of a wee statement. That I like that.
That's my Ryan 118 statement.
So
been released.
We've touched briefly on the statements. I want to move on now and touch on basically what our ideal solutions were.
Yeah,
I think we'll both have maybe slightly differing. So maybe you want to kick it off with what you think your ideal solution to this.
Well, my ideal solution has been almost the same from the start. When this all kicked off and we knew social distancing had to be practiced, we knew we couldn't gather in large crowds. The idea to me of football behind closed doors was horrific. I don't, as the Dunfermline and Celtic great once said, football without the fans is nothing. I couldn't imagine having to bear with it and not being able to go and watch my team win its 9th consecutive title and perhaps a quadruple treble.
What's our Dunfermline Celtic great you talking about? Doris de Vries?
You had to throw that in, didn't you? Of course it's Doris de Vries. I mean, I'm trying to figure who else it could potentially be, because that's the only name.
Simon Donnelly, Mark Birchall.
Oh, well, there's a few
Jackie
names.
Jackie
McNamara, there's one, right?
Yeah.
Good few shouts. But at the start, I didn't want to see football behind closed doors. I would have done anything to avoid it. Now, I'm at the point where, look, we were able to rearrange a full footballing season just so we could have a World Cup in the middle of winter. For me, it is finish this season, whatever the price, whenever the time. I think, even if it is behind closed doors, like if we can send 22 players plus coaching staff and a couple of referees to a stadium with complete safety being ensured, just
but to ensure that safety, do you not need like medical staff?
Well, maybe perhaps we do
for insurance purposes. I'm sure you would.
Look at the way it's a completely. At the same time, this is one of these arguments I've always hated. You can't compare jobs, but if I can go and work with, hundreds of staff a day in a supermarket, and without any health checks, I'm sure 22 boys can go in a park.
Yeah, but you're not gonna break your leg running around Tesco, are you?
Oh well, right, okay. I thought you meant for like COVID.
Well, no, it's like if you have like
you have a wee ambulance on standby as well, right? Okay, I have a wee ambulance on standby too.
But that's the issue though, because at this time you're not going to get that, are you?
Okay, right. Well, whatever. That's talking about as if it was next week, right? What my point going on is, when this world comes back to some form of reality, which it will happen, and that could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 months. I think the clubs should be given their prize money to ensure survival, to ensure financial security over this next period of time. And I think the footballing season should be finished whenever. See, if it has to be in December, it gets finished in December in my eyes. That is how I look at it. I don't want this season to be scrapped without 38 games being played. I don't want to see it being scrapped before a cup final can get played. I think we're at a point where if it has to be behind closed doors, if they've got the facilities to play the game, they play the game.
Right, I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of, like, in an ideal world, yes. In an ideal world, this league should 100% be finished. All 4 leagues should be finished. We're not living in an ideal world just now. I don't think there's any way that...
It's not going to happen over the next 3 weeks, not a chance.
But it's not even 3 weeks. I mean, I don't even think in the next couple of months we're even going to get to a stage where we can even consider this. Because ultimately, as much as it's something we like to talk about, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really a priority. I don't think there's any feasible way that this league now gets finished with 38 games. I just can't see it happening. Ideally, I would love it to happen, but I don't think it will.
So, I understand. Just to come back to argue my sort of point, if the season doesn't get finished because of the circumstances not allowing it to, there's going to be a massive question mark over when the next campaign begins anyway. So I feel like we should you know, if we're going to be looking at a severe question mark over the head of the next season, then why not just finish this when we're afforded the chance to anyway? Because they might be asking us to start the next season in an obscure time.
But I think it comes down to that TV deal. I think ultimately money is.
See, that's the thing. That has got to make. My point of view comes from hopefully the world and hopefully the guys at Sky, being a nice gentleman like fellow and saying, do you know what? We couldn't help any of this. We'll just pack up from when the season begins. Yes, it's crazy because there's so much money involved. It's not just like they're dangling a tenner over the club's heads and saying, oh, you can wait, we'll give you that. It's £120 million. There's a lot on the line. But at the end of the day, these guys at Sky, how long is the deal? Is it a 5-year contract?
Yeah, but with all these big deals, there's all these little intricacies. It's never as simple as just...
Oh, it's never as simple. But the way that I feel like they should be looking at it is, whenever this next season does begin, we're going to get our 5 years anyway, and people are going to come back by the barrel load to watch the games. They're going to profit off it. There's no way they're losing anything, no matter when the next season begins or no. They are going to get their 5 years worth of money, and they're going to get a lot of it at the start, because the excitement for next season starting, for so many reasons, not even just the reason that football has been postponed itself. Look at next year in the terms of Scottish football. Next year is massive.
Yeah, and as I said, I completely agree with the fundamental.
That is an optimistic,
Yeah, the fundamental belief of mine is that we should 100% finish this league no matter what. If you're going to call the league now, as much as I would like to see Hearts in the Championship next year. I'd like to, I think just for a day out or nothing. I don't think you can relegate teams. I just don't think. I think you can dish out. You can award. I think it's more feasible for me to award titles than it is to relegate teams, because I think a lot of in 3 out of the 4 leagues the title is pretty clear cut anyway.
Yep, but then it just comes to the whole situation of, well, if we're giving Dundee United a title, then how can we have 13 teams in the league? It just kind of
this is what I was going to come on to. I think that for me, what I would like to see, and I don't think it is not going to happen, by the way. I would want league. I'd want it to be league reconstruction. That would be my
that would be ideal as well. This would be a perfect
I think the most likely chance of league reconstruction is that they do it for a season. I think there's a lot of talk that they might do that. So they'll promote United, all the rest of it, and they'll go to, or they might promote United to do the playoffs, promote 2 teams, go to a 14-team top flight for a season, let everything balance itself out and go back to normal. I don't know. Ultimately, I mean, I want to come onto league reconstruction as a topic here because it's something I kind of, I've always kind of wanted. Ideally for me, I would love to see an 18-team top flight, 16 to 18 teams.
I would, for years, I have only dreamed of a 16 to 18 team league in the top flight. It would make so much sense.
Here's the thing though, it would make a lot of sense to the fan that goes to the games, but an 18-team top flight would be fantastic. It would really be brilliant, but it's never going to happen because there's no way they're going to give up their precious 4 Old Firm games a season. That is the reason they will never do it.
Yep.
They're never going to give up 2 Old Firm games. They're never going to do it.
Unless we gave the special treatment of we allow Celtic and Rangers to play an extra 2 games.
Watch them try and do that. They try and send them to America or something for an Old Firm game or something ridiculous like that. But I mean, for me, an 18-team top flight would be fantastic.
It would be.
But I can't really see it ever happening.
The realistic scenario, I think, at this point, despite what both of us want, is that the season will more than likely, some point, end up, because this is the first vote, right? Even if it doesn't pass after the first. If we get a month down the line, there's no progress.
Oh, you watch. It's going to be like Brexit, honest to God.
Oh, exactly, that's what I'm saying. A month down
Neil
the line...
Doncaster there with his wee folder trying to get the votes in.
There has been no progress in the situation of COVID-19. So we're a month down the line, they go, right, we'll have to call another vote because there's been no progress in how the world is changing. And then that'll be part 2 of a failed vote. And then they'll do the same a month later. And it'll keep going and going and going until we have Boris Johnson captain in the SPFL.
I mean, I think the vote is on Friday, and I think we're due. I think most people were saying we'd probably find out the result of it early next week. I think, oh God, I think in the Premiership they'll get enough votes. I think in League 1 and 2 they'll get enough votes. The issue is mainly the Championship, I think, because I don't know if And the real sticking point, I think, is maybe Dundee, because I think, I mean, Ayr have come out and said, their chairman has said he's going to recommend to their board that they back the SPFL's motion. Dundee and Inverness, I completely forgot about them. They'll still fancy their chances of promotion this year.
Yep.
But I do think there are two clubs who also won't be able to risk financial stability for that. So, I mean, there is a very good chance this vote passes, and I think if this vote passes and then they end up coming to a decision that we can't finish the league, then we're going to end up, with a lot of very angry clubs, i.e. Hearts, Partick Thistle, Falkirk Rangers, Stranraer, so it's going to be an interesting, couple of weeks, couple of months anyway.
It is, and it will give us something else to talk about, I suppose.
Yeah, there's going to be lawsuits aplenty, I think.
Aye. I mean, hopefully Peter Law's at the ready.
He won't have to do anything. I mean, there's no way.
Disastrous was to happen. No, just in case, Neil Doncaster decided to throw a spanner on the works.
There's one other little thing about all this. There's a group of teams that we've completely sort of forgotten about, and that's the teams, the Highland League winners, the Lowland League winners. In this resolution, they wouldn't get their chance to get promoted to League Two. So you've got Kelty Hearts who've been flying, they're currently top. You've got Brora Rangers who've been awarded the Highland League title, won't get their chance to come up to the League Two. Mark Wilson will be buzzing. Interestingly, there is a Brecon City representative on the SPFL board. I can't remember how many teams. There's like a Hamilton guy, there's a Rangers guy, there's a Brecon guy. I can't remember who else, but there's only a few teams, and one of them is a Brecon representative, so he'll be delighted if this goes through.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'll put it on Instagram.
Oh, wait, David has just cut off, so I will finish off what he was saying. Put out on Instagram in the story last night for some questions, and you cut off, David, so that's why I took over for a second. David took charge, as he is the social media tycoon himself, for some questions for the boys here at Talk Shop.
Yeah, well, the questions for the boys were pretty much what we already talked about. It was all pretty much, what do we think is going to happen, blah, blah, blah. There was one question. Someone said, surely 10 in a row is still on regardless of what happens, because even if it is null and void, it means it basically didn't happen. I mean, yes. Yeah, well, if this season is null and void, 10 in a row is still on, because ultimately Celtic would still be defending champions.
If it was null and void, we'd still be in 8, wouldn't we? We'd just have to go do it again and again.
Yeah, of course. You'd still be defending champions.
Yeah.
There was a couple of interesting questions that were not football related. A good friend of ours, Murdo, put in a couple of questions. I'm not sure I want to read them out on the channel though.
Oh, that's a sin. He's
dying
for a moment of life, isn't he?
There was one question about you that I think would take up a whole podcast.
Oh, right, really? Well, maybe that
he wanted to discuss your sex life.
Null and void. That's it.
Oh god, I think that's a great way to round off.
That is a fantastic way to end the podcast. I'm going to put a disclaimer in it to start. Watch till end. Make sure you'll be there for the best bit.
Fantastic.
Jeez, Murdo, you've really.
You'll be delighted I got that in.
Oh, yeah, you were dying, but I'm going up for another podcast now. Just embarrassment in front of them. Right, well, that's that does it, innit? That's it.
Yep, that's us.
And that was a nice wee extra show, considering we've not been here in a while. I mean, 35 minutes of entertainment. I'm sure the people can't be disheartened by that.
Well, considering there's been no football for about a month now. Well, I don't know how it feels like a month. It probably isn't even that long, to get that much to talk about. It's pretty good.
When was the last game? The last game was against Celtic's last game was against St Mirren at Parkhead, which was early March, I believe. So I think we are just about a month without any football. Because remember, Celtic were meant to take on Rangers on what? March the something.
Yeah, it's been tough.
Yep, it has been tough, and we will get there.
We will get through it.
Somehow. Keep your eyes out on the channel for more podcasts when this all goes down on Friday. That'll be a big day.
That's if we get the result, that is. So I don't know when we get the result.
Yeah, that's right. We won't know. But I do all the good stuff. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all the rest of it. David's socials, my socials will be on the screen for you to follow as well. And I will see you all next time.